What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the RDL show. I am your host, Ryan Beeley, joined alongside Jonathan Rifkin, Sky Guasco, and Charlie Moss. Charlie is in his dorm room, as always. We are not going to allow him ever to do the show from anywhere else but his dorm room, even when he graduates. It's going to be a deal we have. All right. Had a fun weekend. Got to play some golf with Ken Griffey Jr. Some of my co-hosts are really jealous of that. I hit the long drive. He drove a par four. We ham and egged it pretty good in the tournament on Saturday. Him and I go back a long time. We'd met each other when I was, I don't know, I think I was 19. No, I wasn't 19. I was 21 when I met him. I threw out the first pitch at the Mariners game. I met a 19-year-old Alex Rodriguez. That's what it was. Alex Rodriguez was in that locker room with Ken, and I remember meeting them both for the first time when I threw out the first pitch. I told them both I could strike them out after I did that. They laughed and chuckled, and we moved on with our lives. I wanted to talk a little bit about getting back up, okay? And I think a lot of us, are dealing with what that's like in everyday life, okay? When you fall down, when you get knocked down, when life happens, what are you supposed to do? I think that sometimes the alternative is like just staying down, living in that negativity. That's the easier way, right? When things happen in life, it's easier to just simply, make it about fear and judgment and blame others and things like that. The hardest part is taking the high road. The hardest part is about love. The hardest part is not issuing judgment or playing the victim. I think that's the bigger part. When something that you feel maybe that's out of your control happens and you feel victimized, you tend to stay down longer. And sometimes it's about self-care, but it's really about what are you able to do and what are you capable of doing. And so in 2020, I think everybody got kicked in the nuts with COVID and everything else that came with it. And what do you do about that, right? And I sat in it for a long time. I think I sat in it for probably 2 months, wondering, what has the world, what does the world deserve to give me, right? What is that? How meaningful is that? What do I deserve? All the hard work I've put in over the last 4 years, 5 years, how deserving am I? This shouldn't be happening to me. I've put in enough equity that, and all that equity is, and all that foundation is what you can retrieve or grab from when you need it most. That's what it's for. And life isn't fair. It's about how you deal with it that matters. And that could never have been more true than this year. So 2021 was about getting back up, dusting yourself off and moving forward. We established this show March 1st. We are halfway through our second month, over halfway through our second month. Wow, this is just flying by. And there's a fulfillment with that. And then I thought about what is the alternative, right? I don't know anything else. And it's because of practice. Now, I once knew something much differently. I once knew that I, could continue to pile just heap after heap of shit on top of myself and make myself feel better. What I thought was making myself feel better, and it wasn't. I was just numbing everything that was there. And once you fully rip off that Band-Aid and expose yourself to the elements and take on and feel the pain that exists, is the only way you can move forward. So, I implore all of you who watch and who are part of the show to continue to get back up, right? That's all you can control. If you keep doing your part in all this, I guarantee you good things happen. And if it doesn't, that's life, right? You can't blame anybody else for your circumstance or what's going on. That's not how this works. And that took me a long, long time. There's something about accountability. There's something about taking a look in the mirror. All those things, cliches that are cliches because they work and they're true. And that's why we continue to trudge along. and do the next right thing. Every day is a new opportunity, right? You're not your past. You're not your worst thing. You are what you are today. And when you lay your head down, you'll feel comfort because of it. And tomorrow, you get up and do the same thing, or at least try to. You're going to continue to make mistakes, just like I do. We're all the same. We're all flawed human beings trying to be better every single day. And we want to build the best possible life and human being that we can. And I don't know if you would call what the European Premier League decided to do and make their own Super League, but I don't think they were intent on making themselves the best possible version of themselves, but instead making the most money you can possibly think. Let's welcome all the boys in here to talk a little bit about this. Here's the question of the day, by the way. We're going to start with this. Question of the day. All right. How does the European Super League format impact the future of college football? I wanted to tie it to that because I don't really care too much about European Premier League soccer or their lower, or Premier League is the highest league, right? Then it goes down.
But there's tiers within. This isn't just the Premier League. I mean, this is teams from the top leagues in Europe coming together to form their own league.
Okay, I'm going to be informed in this. The only part of like European Premier League soccer or soccer really in Europe I know is from Ted Lasso. So, and that I don't think really does it much justification. But so we learned this, and it became a talking point all over sports media. The European Super League, led by Real Madrid, Manchester United, and say that for me, Juventus.
You know. Well, it's silent, but we're Americans, so
it's a silent J. Everybody, the J silent. Juventus owners, Europeans, Europe's elite clubs announced the Super League. All right, so that set off a domino effect here in the U.S. in terms of, okay, what would be the definition of a Super League here? Now, essentially the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, they're all self-contained Super Leagues. Now, you could go and grab a handful of teams from each one of those things and make your own Super League, I guess, when you have teams every single year that are just always down and never part of it. Sorry, Las Vegas Raiders, Oakland Raider fans out there. My thought process in what this would do to the college football aspect of the thing, and therefore there's the question of the day. About 3 years ago, I made a statement around what college football was trending towards, and the elitism of the Power Fives and the few group of fives that could be included, okay? And what that would. Now, what those would look like, what I thought would be about 60 teams, most of the Power Fives that are initially here. I'm sorry, Kansas, but you can't be a part of it when it comes to football. It's not happening, all right? So you're not going to be part of this Super League in college football, Kansas. And there's some Pac-12s that may be out of the mix too, if you're not careful. Who knows? But anyway, about 60 teams, wrapped up in around 6 leagues, 6 conferences, and away we go, without the purview of the NCAA, run by the higher ups, like what the Super League's trying to do. Now, my question to you guys is this something that we're seeing now played out in real time that's going to give some of these high functioning universities that bring in so much money the wherewithal and confidence to maybe step outside of the NCAA and start having conversations about putting this into play?
I mean, I think so. Super League, like the concept seems so new to us, but it's been around, right? The NBA, the NFL, the MLB, and the NHL. I don't know if the NHL is a Super League. I don't know if the Russian Hockey League or the Canadian Hockey League. Well, Canada has teams in the NHL, so I would assume that the NHL is probably a Premier League. But soccer doesn't. In the United States, soccer is not a Premier. MLS is not a Premier League. It's where washed-up European soccer players go to make a good buck and entertain some fans. But Europe is scattered with different Premier Leagues, right? You have La Liga, you have Italia Serie A, you have the EPL, you have whatever the German league is that
Bundesliga.
Yeah, Bundesliga. Like you have all these different whatever the one in France is that has this is you tell I don't watch a lot of soccer. PSG, right? Like you have scattered super leagues that consist of the best of the best that consistently win every single year, and then you have teams that rotate in and out, but there's no unified like place for the best players to go every single year and play, and that's what this does. This creates the NBA or the NFL of soccer, but instead of like if you're the best American, you're good. Maybe you go and you play for Liverpool or not Tottenham or Manchester United in the Super League, right? It just opens the door for there to be a consolidated, closed-off place for athletes to go and be showcased at the best level, the best talent. And in college, it can be the same way. Sorry?
Are you yelling at your dog, Sky?
I thought he was yelling at me.
Yeah, I thought I heard so.
I was like, damn, you disagree? All right, tell me how you really feel.
I think he thought he was muted and he screamed at his dog. So it's essentially screaming at you, Jonathan. Now, can this happen in college, or is there already a super league that exists and it's Clemson? It's the Final Four. Is that just the super league that exists right now?
I mean,
but that's not a super league though.
Would you get caught?
Why not?
I'm just like I mean, it's the college football final. It's a different organization. If we're talking about a super league, we're talking about the top teams in the country, regardless of conference, coming together to form their own conference for every single sport. Not just football.
Isn't essentially the college football playoff that?
The college football playoff is the Super League, 100%.
I mean, yeah, I was envisioning it more of like an all type of sports thing. That's what I was thinking about.
Well,
no, this is not going to be an all types of sports thing. This is because guess what? It's not going to affect the same way of women's softball, right? There's not going to be a super league of universities.
Though I know.
I thought the question was, will we see this in the NCAA with teams, regardless of conference, coming together to form their own league? That's what I thought the question was.
Well, my question is, and that's why I asked it. Is the college football playoff? Isn't that just a super league because it's the same teams every single year?
Yeah, but yes, it needs to expand. And as the smallest sample size, it needs to expand.
Okay, so if it expands, all right, and here's the question: our friend Andy Staples so eloquently and thankfully decided to put out what his super league would look like, and he gave this all for us to talk about. This is the college football super league, and these are the teams, all right? Alabama, Auburn, Clemson, Florida, Georgia, LSU, Michigan, Nebraska, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Oregon, Penn State, Texas, and USC. So how many is that? That's
15. 15 teams.
Okay. So that would be his super league. Now the next question is, in terms of context and justification for these teams, has to be current relevancy as well as historical relevancies. Is the only way I can think about it, because like Michigan right now doesn't belong. Nebraska right now doesn't belong. Texas right now doesn't belong. I would say USC right now doesn't belong.
I want to disagree with the point, Ron. I want to backtrack from our pre-show meeting.
Okay.
I agree with if we're looking at the relevancy in terms of win. But what's going to attract the best talent every year to the best league in the world at said sport is the ability to go and
any team in this league would do that.
But every single team in this league has the best resources in the country. So these athletes,
you put other teams in there, and they would have the best resources.
Okay, but
Northwestern has an unbelievable resources now.
Not
you put
better.
Northwestern in there.
Nebraska probably has more resources than Northwestern does for football.
I don't think so right now.
I think they do. I think that you need the facility and you need the infrastructure to be able to.
It's a private university. The facility is second to none anywhere. I don't know if you've seen it on Lake Michigan.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Oh, it's great.
It's beautiful.
But
they are a private university, privately funded. The money that they can get, if you put them in the 15 league super league, I guarantee you they'd be a worthwhile team.
But part of the Super League is the brand name. Northwestern football's not a brand name people are like, wanting to go and see. Like you want to see Alabama football. You want to see Michigan football. I know you don't want to, but I do. You want to see LSU. You don't want. No one wants to see Rutgers football play Northwestern. Like, who's that going to attract?
If they're in the Super League, if you put any team in the Super League and put them in the top 15, like you said, players would go there. They would be a winning program.
Not you. You don't put UTEP in the Super League and think that UTEP is going to be a top 15 team.
UTEP wouldn't be in the 60-team Super League.
There you go. So that's what I'm saying. It's not. You can't just plug and play teams with this model.
Yeah.
There's a reason that only the best.
Yes, you can. You can plug and play with a fixture of probably 30 or 40 teams in here if you wanted to.
Okay,
so resources that exist now.
I think that 15 teams is too few. I think that you need more. I think that with this infrastructure, I'm okay with these teams. All to me make sense for what they can provide and who they can attract, the talent that they can attract. But I agree. I think that there needs.
But guess what? These teams, Michigan has every resource possible to have the best possible talent, the best possible players. So does Texas, and they can't frickin' get it done. Why would this change?
If they're playing in the Super League where they have a schedule against Alabama, Auburn, Notre Dame, USC, Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan, they're going to be, or I guess this is Michigan, and Florida, they're going to have a much harder schedule to play. And they're like, dude, if that's my schedule every year, I'm going to get a 4 or 5 star quarterback rotating in my program. I'm going to get 2 4 to 5
star. But they've done that, and they haven't been able to do it.
But they're still more equipped to try and fail and be able to try again than most other teams in the NCAA, right? Does that make sense?
I get it. I don't like the model of just allowing these teams to try and fail when, like, Iowa State, I think with Coach would be a better fit than a Nebraska team right now, for sure.
But part of
Iowa State isn't going to
Iowa State's not going to attract people. These are the big names. These are the big names.
How come they attract people now and not Nebraska?
That's like
how come these teams attract people now?
How come Iowa State attracts people right now and Nebraska doesn't?
Because the structure is different. You can go to Iowa State and play really well in a good system, but you're not going to be like Nebraska still gets the showcase, right? Like USC is still a brand name and brand recognition, right? So this is where your historical versus not current relevancy comes into conversation, right? There are associations with these programs. Now you add a structure outside of that to be able to showcase each of these powerhouses against each other every single week on the national stage. I think you're going to find it's going to be more competitive every week than with the structure that we see now. Because I just think that these teams are going to try harder. They're going to invest more resources. And like, look at a team like Alabama.
They don't try harder, invest more resources right now. They spend more money than anybody out there.
But Alabama and Clemson already do it, and that's why they win every year, right? The programs that are winning every year are the ones who are able to provide the most resources and attract the best talent, with the exception of like Michigan, right? Every single year. So now you have a structure where other
Michigan has one of the top recruiting classes every single year, though.
That's what I'm saying. I just said except for Michigan.
So why doesn't Michigan win?
Because they're cursed, man.
Oh, okay. Now we're going magical. Now we're now in the magical realm of things. All right. Now we're like wizards and stuff like that. All right. We're the wizards. I didn't know we were unscientific based. We are in the magical arts of Harry Potter time. Okay, I get it. They're cursed. Michigan's cursed. That's great. That's great to know. All right. Let's move on. All right, Sunfare, everybody. You're not cursed if you eat Sunfare, because if you eat Sunfare, you lose weight. Well, you'll feel better. Personalized, delivered, healthy meals. Me in July of 2020. Me in April of 2021. It's stupid good food, people, all right? Turkey bacon burger for lunch today. Already had some filet mignon mixed in with my steak, or mixed in with my eggs this morning. Oh, so good. Go to sunfare.com, fill out all your information, and then click on Carl Farrow as your representative, sales representative. Click on the RDL show, Ryan D. Leaf show, as the reason why you heard about us. And get started now. 10% off your first order delivered to your doorstep if you are in Los Angeles area and its surrounding counties, or in the Phoenix area in those surrounding counties. That's where we're starting out right now. So clearly, if I ever have to move from Los Angeles, I'm going to have to move to Phoenix, because I love me some Sunfare. All righty, moving on. We probably could talk about that all damn day. Thank you, Andy Staples. Thank you. I'll text you later today and see if we can get you on the show to just commiserate a little bit more. Big news out of Alex Smith's camp on Instagram. He retires after 15 seasons. His time with San Francisco, Kansas City, and the Washington football team. More importantly, this devastating injury he had while in Washington, and then the comeback he made to last year where he got on the field and started multiple games and really led that team down the stretch and won a division in the NFC East. Decides to call it quits after the amazing comeback. It's one of the main points he said when he came back was to show his kids that you can overcome anything, and he's done that for a lot of people. People have talked about renaming the Comeback Player of the Year award, the Alex Smith Award. He was a recipient last year. He's also a guy that's just overcome adversity, right? 1 touchdown, I think 11 interceptions his rookie year. If that happens this day and age, guy's gone, right? He's Josh Rosen territory. You're just never heard from again, it sounds like. Instead, he kept getting an opportunity. He made the most of it, overcame the adversity. Then Colin Kaepernick steps on the scene. He gets hurt after he gets a rebooted quarterback life here in the NFL under Jim Harbaugh. And Colin Kaepernick takes his job, takes him to the Super Bowl. He moves on to Kansas City. They go and get a guy named Patrick Mahomes, jettison him out of there after that, after playing great. Only quarterback, I think, ever in the history to win both 40-plus games in the AFC and the NFC ever, which is an unbelievable feat. I think the other two were, I can't remember what the other two. One's I can't remember what the other ones were, who are trying to do it, I guess was the point. Wonderful career for him. I applaud him greatly. What do you guys think about Alex Smith and his? I'm really happy he's calling it quits, because I tell you right now, I was nervous every time he took a snap from center last year.
Likewise. And as a 49er fan growing up, we drafted him in 2005. Locally, it was kind of a shock and a surprise. People locally wanted Aaron Rodgers. I know it's easy to say now, but even back then, Aaron Rodgers went to Cal, which is just across the bay from San Francisco, wanted to keep him local. And it was interesting to see him come in. Dual threat quarterback, coached by Urban Meyer at Utah. And actually, he played well. But Alex Smith, I believe it was seven offensive coordinators in 8 seasons, or 8 and 9 or something ridiculous. And I mean, Ryan, you know better than we do, obviously, having the continuity with your guy and your play caller and the scheme and everything else is just as important as anything. And he was never able to get that, and those Niner teams were tough anyway. Him coming back this year, I thought was great just on a human level. It really added, kind of took away the sport for a minute. Everybody was rooting for Alex Smith. He came in, did what he wanted to do, played a couple of games, led them, like you said, to the playoffs. And I think he's now doing what everybody wants him to do as well, which is step away from the game. Healthy-ish, considering where he was. The documentary on ESPN.
Healthy,
yes.
Because he played professional football last year. So guess what? He's healthy. Exactly. I'm healthy, and I can't play professional football. So that's a distinction that a lot of us don't have. For him to be able to play professional football, he's a healthy dude. That's amazing. You're right.
And let's not forget, too, I mean, he had his struggles at San Francisco, but the team did overall. Cap came in and changed everything with Harbaugh. To go to the Super Bowl, you got to push him out. Goes to Kansas City. In that first year with Kansas City, he was known as kind of a check down.
You're a 49ers fan. You forget. If Alex Smith gets hurt, do we ever hear of Colin Kaepernick?
Honestly, probably not. Not to the magnitude. Not to the magnitude, obviously, now. The kneeling for the national anthem, all those things could have still happened because that's off the field. He could have done that anyway. But as far as playing as a starting quarterback, leading them to the Super Bowl versus the Ravens, I doubt that happens, obviously, because Alex Smith was the guy at the time. He goes to Kansas City. In that first year, he was known as a check-down West Coast offense dump-off passer to Vernon Davis and Frank Gore his whole career in San Francisco. He goes to Andy Reid for a year, and basically he's in the running for the MVP in that first season with the Kansas City Chiefs, and they get Mahomes and stuff, and the rest is history. But incredible career, somebody that everybody can root for. Seems like a great guy off the field, well documented with his family and his wife and his kids and everything else. So forever a fan of Alex Smith for sure.
I just want to say also, I mean, you touched on the football accolades beautifully there, Ryan and Sky. He's from San Diego, and he comes back every summer. He went to Helix High School out there and out close to San Diego State. And every summer he throws camps with kids out here. And all throughout the San Diego area, it's always like this kid, quarterback at La Jolla, quarterback down in South Bay at San Ysidro, quarterback in East County at Granite Hills. All of these guys worked out with Alex Smith, and now it's not just the impact that has on them on the field, but like this guy's a genuinely good guy, and he does truly care about the community that helped bring him up, and just seeing the impact on the sociological perspective that he's had down here and back in Southern California every offseason is amazing. And I think that his story of how he's come back from this injury inspires a lot of people from the root of where he's from also. So just wanted to throw that out there into the world as well.
Well, that's good to know. It's really good to know. San Diego is more of a destination city. It really is, where people go to retire. And but we forget a lot of times that people are born and raised there and come from there, and giving back to their communities is something that he's always done. Helix High School, of course, is where Reggie Bush went as well, if I recall correctly.
Yep, you're correct.
All right, so bon voyage, Alex. Let's play some golf, buddy, when you get a chance. We'll see how that rebuilt leg does on the course. Second pro days, okay? I think pro days are nonsense. That's the first comment here. And then the fact that there's been second days, it's like Hobbit's third breakfast or something like that. I don't know. Hi Jade, how you doing? Keep watching, be a part of the show. Did you guys why are these players taking part in second pro days? Do you guys have any idea? This is my thought. This is my thought, okay? I feel like because they didn't have a combine this year, and I'm going to tell you all right now, the combine is for this, all right? The combine is testing your will, testing your mental health, testing all these things. They ask you to do things over and over and over without seeing if you'll burst, if you'll break, if you'll be like, screw you, I'm going to be one of the top picks. I don't need to keep doing this for you. That would have been my response if you asked me to do a second pro day, right? Are you going to come to town? Okay. You want to do something privately? We're cool. Like San Diego had me come down and do something privately. No one else saw that. Just the Chargers, just their doctors and everybody like that. That was for them. But this televised, second pro day nonsense for me is just a waste of time. And it's a huge risk because you have solidified yourself as a top 5 pick. You really have. All you're going to do is destroy that. And what these teams are asking you to do, they want to see if you'll break. They want to see if you'll be an entitled, piece of shit and go, hey man, I ain't doing this. I'm gonna be a top 5 pick. You're picking 22nd. What the hell do I care? They're waiting for that response. So each one of them, of course, are doing the right thing. I think the second pro day is just a bunch of nonsense right now.
I do think it's a supplement for not having the combine. I think is the biggest thing. But I agree with you, Ryan. And
but I mean,
Ryan,
your pro day, isn't your pro day isn't that exactly what you do at the combine?
Yes, it's just maybe an extra chance. And I think Ryan, maybe your situation was
a chance to screw up.
Well, yes, and I think that's maybe
so why do it?
But I think in your case, coming out, it was 1 or 2. In case of Justin Fields and Trey Lance, who have had the second pro days, yes, they're a top quarterback option and potentially a top pick, but not solidified like Trevor Lawrence is. And maybe in their mind, in their camp, it's, look, you've done all this. I know they have the film. I agree with you that it's silly that they're doing it. Maybe, though, that they're doing it to give, teams who didn't get the chance to go, like, the 49ers didn't go the first time to see some of them. Now they're coming in to see them a second time to get that opportunity just in case it falls that way. So they're just, I think, opening their possibilities depending on the teams that are now in attendance.
Good rationalization, Sky.
Charlie?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it's just because there's no combine this year. I just want to give another chance to show what they have. But at the same time, like you were saying, like Ryan was saying, like it might just be like another chance to mess up. It might be another chance to see like if they have this type of smug attitude. Oh, I don't need to do this, or it doesn't matter for me. So again, it goes both ways. There's pros and cons. So I guess we'll just see what happens.
Maybe they should call it pros and cons day.
I was impressed. Trevor Lawrence even worked out. I was impressed he did anything. If I were him, I would have said, "Hey, Jacksonville, see ya in training camp."
Well, now he's out there taking donations for him anyway. Like he's been a Jag for a few months. But go ahead, Jonathan.
Well, you know the story behind that, right? Like Jacksonville Jaguar fans donated to his registry for his wedding. Yeah. So.
Well, so I have a question.
Okay.
What if Trevor Lawrence isn't better than I know? Hold on, just bear with me before we get to the quick. Let me reframe this: the pressure on the Jaguars, right, to pick this guy number 1 overall. It's been.
I don't think there's pressure on them. Do you?
Absolutely. This
is the easiest decision. This is the easiest decision you could make right now.
No, in the hypothetical world that for some reason maybe they find out that Trevor Lawrence this, that, or the other, red flag this, red flag that. Maybe they rather Wilson, maybe they rather Fields at this late game. They can't go draft those guys now because the expectation. You just said
why?
The fans of this team, dude, just donated to his registry. That's
all
pressure.
you need. All you need to do if you're a general manager is before the draft come out and say, give the explanation. Go. This was the red flag. We can't draft this guy.
You're rational, but you see it from a rational perspective because you've been covering the sport. You've been in the sport. Fans don't see it that way. Fans see it through their fan goggles, and that is not a popular thing to do when fans are donating.
They just gutted their all-pro defense 2 years ago. They didn't do that to help their fan base.
Okay, but the fan base has sort of become okay with existential crises within the Jaguars.
And they would be with this. They would be with this eventually.
I don't think they would be. Nobody's donating to the pro. Maybe it's to some of the charities.
People donated a ton of money to Andy Dalton's charity, not only from Buffalo, but also Cincinnati, and he's no longer there.
He's a great person. Trevor Lawrence may be a great person too, but these guys are donating because they want him in their city, not because he's a great person. Andy Dalton was getting donations after the fact because he's a great person, not because Cincinnati was going to draft him.
No, that was when he was in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
It was after
and they just let him go a year later.
Right.
So
it's after the fact. I'm just taking a page out of the
bat. The bat has just such momentum today with Jonathan. Either it's voodoo or it's before momentum. All right.
You're blowing off the sociology of.
Now you're talking. Now you're talking science. At least I can rationalize with you when you're talking about science instead of voodoo economics. Okay.
This was all sociology.
Voodoo is sociology?
No, not the Michigan is cursed. That was
okay. That was voodoo. All right, I get it.
That was hyperbole.
So you don't live in a dorm, Charlie?
No, I'm in an apartment.
Oh, okay.
I'm a junior, Ryan. Dorms are for freshmen.
I don't know, right? I lived in a dorm every year, so it's just the way it goes.
Athletes are different. Athletes get different treatment than us.
I'm in my apartment.
Ryan, can I ask a question? Putting aside the top names, the top quarterbacks, the guys that we've been talking about for months. Let's go tier 2, 3, 4, 5 college athlete looking to go pro. They're going to be in the draft. They will most likely get drafted whenever. Day 2 guys, whatever. Would you change your thought process on a second pro day this year specifically because there's no combine for the lower tier guys who need all the looks they can get?
If I'm not a first round, if I'm not a first day pick, I'm every time there's a scout anywhere near me, I'm just I'm driving the car and I see a scout out there with a stopwatch, jumping out of my car and I'm just running over there and I'm running a quick 40 in front of them. Everything I can in front of anybody and everybody to get a shot at the NFL. I'm doing that. Now, if you are a top 5 pick and the only thing you can do is damage. Those guys don't have anything to lose. Like Justin Fields and Trey Lance and Mac Jones, they all have something and Zach Wilson, they all have something to lose. They can get removed from the top 10 as a draft pick if they go out and mess up or do something. Now, maybe their camps have told them, hey, if you say no to them, that may be the red flag that kicks you back out of the top 10. Now, I don't believe that to be the case. I already believe that 5 of these quarterbacks are going inside the top 10 because like the show, like the RDL show, and I really do think it's gaining traction. When I do other hits on SiriusXM and everywhere else, I talk to them about I'm auditioning to be a general manager, and I want everybody to know that our game plan is that we pay and we draft quarterbacks, guys that rush the quarterback and guys that protect the quarterback, and we'll make you a winner. We're a collective thing here. Sometimes we conscribe to voodoo, but we knock that out of here every once and again. But that's what we do, all right? So we're going to watch that play out in real time this year. Those guys are going to be the top 10. They have a lot of leverage. They just don't exercise it. Surprised that Trevor Lawrence, like I said, surprised Trevor Lawrence even worked out. I would venture to say that the contract is already done with Jacksonville, and they will announce it day of draft. And so the New York Jets are essentially on the clock right now.
Well, it came out after the draft last year that Joe Burrow had the Cincinnati playbook like 3 weeks before the draft even happened.
Same with Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman was drafted. Troy Aikman was drafted way ahead of time, had the playbook in hand. It can be done. When you have the first pick in the draft, guess what? Once the league year starts, which was back in March, that's when you can essentially draft your quarterback or draft your player number 1 overall. That's when the draft actually happens in the eyes of the league. That's when you can actually bring them on board and make them a part of it. So
I saw something that said Lawrence has the playbook. So just going off that point. So
now that's all. Now to be clear, that's all hearsay until the end of the month, right? Because if something were to happen to him, they would change their mind last minute for whatever reason. They can obviously, he's not on the team technically, but they're gearing up that way, assuming.
Well, if they say maybe he may have signed a contract already.
The draft is just
that might be the only way for them to give him the playbook is him to have signed the contract already.
The draft is a theatrical event. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not official.
Speaking of, and I want to get into this a little bit about the draft because I think it's important. But if you're going to celebrate this year for the draft and you don't want to be drinking and driving, or you just want to have that good taste but not that bad feeling the next day, try Athletic Brew, all right? Athletic Brewing Company, non-alcoholic brews. Upside Dawn has become my personal favorite. Oh, there we go. Popping some tops here on the RDL show. Try them out. athleticbrewing.com. Get your first order because of the RDL show. Get 10% off any delivery for 2 6-packs to your door. At athleticbrewing.com. Non-alcoholic brews. Throw up that logo again, Jonathan, for everybody out there. Brew without compromise, everybody. Shop now, athleticbrewing.com. Okay, the draft. All right. So yesterday was 23 years since I was drafted. It's always neat to reminisce a little bit. April 18th, 1998 was the morning I was drafted. It was different then. It was only on the weekends. They did rounds 1, 2, and 3 on Saturday, 4, 5, 6, and 7 on Sunday is how they went about it back in the day. Greatest day of my life, right? Goal that I had set forth so long ago in that little basement bedroom that I grew up in Great Falls, Montana, and what I wanted to be. I got a chance to be drafted by these guys, the San Diego Chargers, right behind me there. Number 2 overall, and my dream came true. I've watched this play out, and you've just made the comment around the theatrical version of this and how, since my draft, where it was a big deal in New York, what it's become now. What we saw in Nashville 2 years ago was a show, right? It was an unbelievable show. And the amount of people that showed up, now, of course, it got knocked off its pedestal last year because of COVID, and this year they're reopening it to Cleveland. Now, I don't necessarily think it's a great idea to have that in-person draft this year. I mean, there's no need for it except to make money by the NFL. But also this, Trevor Lawrence, I guess, also bucking the system and doing it from home with his teammates, his family, and everybody in the Clemson area. I always found it funny that once you are drafted, the person that calls your name and the person standing there with your jersey and the one who embraces you with a hug is the commissioner of the league. You will never see him again or will be in that kind of vicinity to him unless you are in trouble at the NFL. I think it is ignorantly over the top, and the propaganda machine of the NFL continues to churn, right? The person you should have most around you is your family. Now, they invite them up after the fact and do the picture, but some of these guys will meet him for the first time, and they're hugging him like this is the guy that set him free to, all the riches and meats and cheeses of the land, type of moment. And it's not right. It really isn't, because the guy giving you this hug and welcoming you to the league could give absolutely two shits about you. Not at all. So I was hoping we'd see a lot more families staying home and celebrating like that. I know the spectacle of it and the day and age we live in is about the hype. It's about the content. It's about all of those things. And I get that. I understand that. So I don't fault you for it, but I want you to have a true understanding of what you are actually doing, and you're becoming a part of that, right? You're becoming a part of that propaganda machine, and it just starts to churn and churn. And it starts on draft night when they trot you up there and hug the guy that, doesn't care about you at all. Have you guys ever looked at it through that lens, or has it just always been this spectacle that's grown and grown over time since you're a little younger than I am?
I've been more focused on the NBA draft. I never really thought about the NFL draft as until last year as a theatrical thing. That's when I really started paying attention to the athletes and the storylines and everything. Because at the end of the day too, why are you going to put so much effort into a showcase where the analysts are typically wrong about the draft board? And when they're not wrong, we already knew that they weren't wrong. We were so set in those picks. And for the most part, it's about selling ad spots for $2 million a piece in between breaks, right? It's about going and getting title sponsors. It's about going and filling wherever venue that they're doing it with fans. It's all for the ad revenue, right? And it does it's cool this. But what's funny, Ryan, is that it almost seemed like last year it was better when some of these guys got to stay home, when they were home.
I thought it was. I watched it the first time since I was drafted. I watched the NFL draft last year. I think really because of that. There was I was not pleased with some of the ways that ESPN chose to use biographical information, immediately when somebody gets drafted and a positive thing happens. I remember it was when T. Higgins was drafted, one of the first things under his bio was mom is a recovering heroin addict. Or whatever.
I've noticed that stuff before. It's this is supposed to be the greatest day of his life, and you're mentioning terrible accidents that have happened to them throughout their life. I remember 2 years ago there was this defensive lineman from Mississippi State or something like that, and they mentioned, he beat a woman up when he was in 10th grade. It's what are you trying to do? Why are you mentioning?
Well, some of the stuff around that is red flag based, but
no, I understand that.
When it doesn't have to do with them personally, them individually, you drag your mother through that would have been a straw too far.
The only thing I'll point out.
I was going to say my point is, sorry, I was going to real quickly. My point is this is supposed to be a great day for them. It's supposed to be a super happy, enjoyable day that they never forget. And ESPN's putting these such odd comments about bad parts of their lives. It's what are you doing?
It's a choice.
I agree with you guys in this conversation, but I do want to play devil's advocate because that's what I do sometimes. Unless I'm arguing with Charlie, then just fuck that. But I think that the way that it's meant to come off, and it's not received this way at all, and that's why I agree with you guys. It's look what this player has overcome to get to this point, right? Oh, like go make a little mini doc about how like this kid grew up struggling with like family situations. I wouldn't necessarily try and put it as the first thing in a bio when they get drafted, and we're trying to like keep like the positive spirit of this event. But at the same time, like sometimes they do put stuff that can be received that way, but it also could be interpreted as, wow, this guy like went through something really tough and now look where he is, right? And so that's what I think it's supposed to be.
For me, that's laziness.
I agree
completely. That's low hanging fruit for me. You can do that in another time. There's so much content out there on these players now that you can draw from. So yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's understandable overcoming an addict mother and all what must have been like, but it's not the right moment. It's not the right moment. So
not at all.
I agree.
Not at all.
But you know when is the right moment? When you spice up your food, everybody. All right, that's the right moment. When you're eating food and it's just not right, go to Bomb Banana. All right, go to seekthespice.com. Try out 2 of their brands. Hot sauce. This is a friend of the show, Charlie Moss's brother, and his buddies decided to start a company by using real bananas, not banana taste, but real bananas in their hot sauce. I had them on my eggs this morning. It's the bomb. That should be their logo, by the way. I mean, that like that's a big swing and a miss. Come on, Bomb Banana. It's the bomb. I just did that.
The circle should be the bomb, the banana's inside, and the little top of the banana is the fuse.
Yeah, it already kind of looks like that. So maybe we just put it in their mind. All right. Favorite thing about Bomb Banana? Their website. Go check it out. Seekthespice.com. That's seekthespice.com, all one word. And today you can receive 10% off your first order by using the promo code LEAF. LEAF, like on a tree. Okay? At checkout. Bomb Banana hot sauce, absolutely fantastic. Beyond excited to have the opportunity to work with these guys and their new emerging hot sauce. I really like it. It's freaking good. Have you guys got yours yet, Sky, Jonathan?
Nope, should be on the way. I do have a quick question though. Is Ken Griffey Jr. a spice guy or flavor guy? You guys are out on the course. You guys are out on the course last weekend. You have your Athletic Brews. Obviously, you got your Bomb Bananas in the back pocket. Is Ken Griffey Jr. a spice guy, or is he more of a flavor hot sauce?
Well, I can't. Where did he? We didn't. I ate throughout the round because I had my Sunfare with me, and I think I made everybody jealous. I had a poached shrimp salad, and everybody's like looking at me like it's sushi, and I'm like, yep. And then I had what else did I have? I had a ground turkey burger and turkey bolognese. I ate my ass off through the whole round because it was hot, and that's what you do. You burn a ton of calories, and Sunfare is good food. So I think I made everybody pretty jealous. But I would probably say he's, I'd say he's kind of a bland eater. I'd probably say dude is just a sweet swing, just like, yeah, it's butter. I just need some butter. That's all I need. I don't need spicy butter. I don't need, anything else. I don't need to put a spin on it. I just need to hit dingers and eat popcorn and fried chicken, I guess, is probably the way to go about. Dude is amazing and has the smoothest swing you could imagine, even with the golf club. We had the long drive guy there, and he had the miles per hour radar, and he put it down by our swings. And my swing was 114 miles an hour. Griffey's it looked like just smooth as hell. Ken's was 123 miles an hour, and the long drive guy was 141 miles an hour. I mean, that's what I think the PGA pros right now, they've been showing videos of them hitting like Bryson's hit 200, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's obscene. That's absurd. But I don't think he's a super spicy food eater. I think he was down for kind of just some bland food and just rope dingers all day long. I think that's just how he lives his Hall of Fame career. Yeah, he's good at it. All right. Last 10 minutes of the show, we're going to dive into the transfer portal a little bit here before we get to your questions, okay? Interesting conversation on Russillo's podcast with Chris Sims the other day about, and this has always been the case, when even before this announcement came from the NCAA that they're going to allow one-time transfer for everybody, no matter what. But I always felt once you recruit them and get them on campus, you still had to observe and understand and be aware. Like if you didn't keep that recruit happy on campus because of the transfer portal, they could impulsively jump ship and go someplace else. Now, with the one-time transfer rule, you simply can move on and be eligible to play immediately. So the roles have changed now for head coaches and in particular assistant coaches on that staff and what they do. Recruiting just does not, I mean, recruiting is a year-long thing, but you're recruiting high school kids. Now you're going to be recruiting on your own campuses to make sure your kids are happy and healthy at home to keep them there.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how resources are divided up. And because, like, now also when you think about it, like recruits would come onto campus. Some recruits, like you get a 4 or 5 star, they'd sit like Bryce Young is a great example at Alabama, right? Quarterback 5-star, top 2, depending on what site you're looking at, quarterback recruit in the nation out of modern day, sits behind Mac Jones for a season, right? A lot of guys don't really want to sit their freshman year. A lot of guys want to go play. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see how – I think there's going to be a bit of a balance of wealth with this where we're not going to see teams stacking talent the way that we have because athletes want to go out and play their freshman year. Or we see teams that aren't like perennials get talent for their freshman year. And then they're like, okay, I got what I needed out of this school. I'm out. There's a spot over at Alabama, Ohio State, Indiana. Not Indiana, wow. Alabama, Ohio State. Clemson doesn't take transfers. USC, whatever. Like, they'll go transfer into a more competitive program where they can now go start and, like, completely screw over the Boise State or the UCF or the lower Power 5 school, UCLA or Nebraska or wherever that they were. So that's what I think is going to end up happening.
Do you think Clemson reevaluates their decision on transfers?
Yeah, I didn't know they don't players. They don't take transfers. No,
they don't take JC transfers or any sort of transfer. They are all in school. Yeah,
I like that. I like that. Give the players the opportunity who you recruit to play. Like I hate when someone just transfers in from another school, like you were saying, like from a Power 5 to one of these smaller schools. It's like trust the people you have, who you recruited, who you want in your program. Like that's how I feel.
These are kids, right? Like now there's going to be an opportunity for this kid at Clemson who's getting, the second running back on the depth chart, who's still getting 10 carries, but he's like a 4-star, to go play for Clemson for a year, say, screw this, I want to go start at Mississippi State and transfer there, right? And not have to get penalized for it. And so now Clemson is down the depth of their backfield, and now they have to go and they have to recruit. And so I think that if they lose players, Ryan, to answer your question, that's when they reevaluate. Okay, because you're not going to be able to, like, a freshman coming in, few freshmen are going to be able to fill the role of like an impact, I don't know, junior transfer, right? Something like that, or a sophomore transfer. So you're going to have to fill those holes with players.
Maybe they're going to have to be guys with a history with Clemson. Maybe it was a tightly contested recruiting process between, let's say, Clemson and a couple other teams. They made a choice to go to, let's say, Alabama or Florida or something like that. And after their freshman year, they were after redshirting or not getting thing going right. They said, hey, this isn't the place for me.
Yeah.
Coach Sweeney, we had a good relationship. Is that something still available to me? And if so, can I come? That may be a way for them to navigate their mandate in terms of what they do in terms of the transfer portal and things like that. But it's going to be a brave new world. It really is, when it's essentially free agency, right? You don't have to really put in an initial contract. You just have to put in for a year or literally go through camp and find out, like, this is not, we watched the Brew McCoy thing play out in real time here locally. Jonathan and I did, to go to USC, one of the highest, highly recruited wide receivers, then to Texas, never play it down, come back, and he's on the USC Trojans football team once again. It was a wacky process, but yeah, it puts coaches in a very, very interesting situation now in terms of holding a lot of hands on campus. You're going to have to be more present, and these head coaches are going to become more of a people pleaser. And some of the head coaches that don't necessarily do that, a la Mike Leach, we'll see how well that goes for him at Mississippi State. So. All righty. Our question of the day was, how does the European Super League format impact the future of college football? Can the college football realm develop their own Super League? And if they did, and you're a college football fan, what would that mean to you? I'm a Washington State alum. Washington State's not going to be part of the Super League if they put it in. Now, if it's a larger one, if it's 60 teams, I would suspect, but there could be some awfully tough cuts made, in particular in the Pac-12, like maybe the likes of Washington State and Oregon State are teams that don't make the cut, right? Arizona, who knows how that goes. Andy Staples, our friend, gave us a little showdown of what teams he thought would be the Super League. All right. What we got, guys, for some questions today and responses to our question of the day? Thoughts on Washington? I think they should trade up for a quarterback.
Currently at 19.
Okay, they're currently at 19. Yeah. They know they need a quarterback. If they feel like there's a guy worthy to do that I would jump up. It would be odd to see Dwayne Haskins ushered out of town just for them to bring in another Ohio State quarterback in Justin Fields a couple years later. That's a possibility. I know that we've seen some mock drafts go as far as, I think, 23, where the Pittsburgh Steelers are drafting to get Justin Fields. If that were to happen, my God, the Pittsburgh Steelers would be in hog heaven. Who's the best quarterback choice? Here's a follow-up. Who's the best quarterback choices after the first round? Well, if Davis Mills makes it to the second round, I would say Davis Mills, Kellen Mond, Kyle Trask. Those are the next three I think I would follow up on. But watch, like I said, I've been saying for weeks, and we're going to do our mock draft. We'll release our mock draft next Wednesday, the day before the draft. We'll all have our own versions next Wednesday that we'll do a live during our live show, kind of take you through the chores there. I suspect the first guy outside the first round, if not taken in the first round, is going to be Davis Mills.
Question here from Mac, and then we'll go to JP.
All right. Why does Fields get such wildly varying reporting? I have no idea. I have zero idea. Go watch the film. Go watch the young man when he talks and how he interacts and the leader that he has, the work ethic, everything. Go watch the film. You're just lazy if you're giving these varying reporting grades. I think he's the second best quarterback out there. If you are the New York Jets and you are wanting the best possible player for your team, then you would take Justin Fields. I hope to God that you don't, because that means Justin's going to end up going to a team that's going to give him a chance at success. Sorry, Zach Wilson, or whoever goes to the New York Jets. I don't care if Robert Saleh's there. It's a systemic problem in New York, and you are just not going to win, and you're going to get your butt kicked. And you'll probably walk away from that situation depressed, like most Jets fans.
All right, JP, back.
All right, here we go. Last question of the day. One drive in the fourth quarter to win the game. Who you got in their prime? Alex Smith, Ryan Fitzpatrick, or Josh McCown? I mean, who's had the most success in all of this? Alex Smith by far. So I'm gonna go with Alex. Now, are you talking to me about like post like shattered leg, JJ Watt shattered leg, Alex Smith, or pre that? They said, does he say in his prime? Who got in your prime? There we go. Yep, there you go. Alex Smith by far, Alex Smith. So, all right, there's another day. What a great show. I thought this was really fun. We talked about a lot of things. Come back on, I guess, whenever the Bat makes a entrance, we have a lot more fun. Batting away, voodoo, socioeconomic, sociology, or whatever the hell our buddy Jonathan Rifkin is throwing out to the masses today. Come back to us on Wednesday, where we'll be here at noon once again here on YouTube. Thanks for watching, everybody. You've been watching the Ryan D. Leaf Show.